My parents sold their house and gave my brother a $750,000 home. Then they came to take my house. I said no. My dad slapped me across the face. 1 month later, someone told me, "Your parents are in big trouble." I calmly replied, "Okay, I know." Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. My name is Sophia, and that single month changed everything I believed about family, loyalty, and what it means to finally stand up for yourself. If you think parents could never turn on their own child, I wish I could agree. I used to believe that too, until the day they tried to take the only thing in my life that I built completely on my own. The story didn't start with a fight. It didn't start with anger. It started with silence. Silence that hid a decision, a choice, and a betrayal I never saw coming. When my parents sold our childhood home, they didn't mention it to me. Not even in passing. They didn't ask for advice. They didn't tell me their plans. I found out through my brother, casually, like he was telling me the weather. "Sophia, Mom and Dad bought me a house," he said on the phone, practically bursting with excitement. $750,000. Can you believe it? I remember sitting on my couch, frozen. They sold everything they owned and handed their entire future to one child. But not the child who spent her entire adult life helping them with bills, driving them to appointments, and taking care of every emergency. Still, I swallowed the hurt. I congratulated him. I tried to act normal. But 3 days later, the truth walked right up to my doorstep, literally. It was Saturday morning. I was sweeping the porch when a car pulled up. My parents got out, dragging 2 large suitcases behind them. No warning. No call. No message. My dad didn't even say hello. My mom didn't even smile properly. They walked toward me like they were arriving at a hotel they already owned. "We'll be staying here from now on, Sophia," my mom said, wiping her forehead dramatically. I blinked. "Staying here? What do you mean?" My dad answered flatly, "This is our house now." It felt like someone had punched me in the chest. My house? The house I bought. With my money, with my work, with my years of struggle? They weren't even asking. They were taking. I tried to stay calm. I tried to find logic. "Mom, Dad, you just bought a house for Michael. Why don't you live with him?" They exchanged a look I still remember, hostile, entitled, dismissive. My dad said, "We gave him a house. Now it's your turn to give something back. This is your duty as a daughter." I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just said one word. "No." And that one word shattered whatever family peace we had left. My dad's face turned red. My mom gasped like I had cursed at them. And then, before I could even process his movement, he slapped me across the face. The sharp sting lasted seconds. The heartbreak lasted far longer. I stepped back, my hand on my cheek, shaking. He didn't apologize. He didn't regret it. He said, "You will respect us and let us stay." End of discussion. But I had already decided. There was no version of my life where I let them take the only thing that was truly mine. They left angry that day, but they didn't stop. They called. They texted. They sent relatives to convince me. They spread stories about how ungrateful I was. My brother even messaged me saying, "Why can't you help them? They're our parents." I wanted to scream, "Help them? They gave you a $750,000 house, and they want to take mine." But instead, I stayed silent. Because deep down, I knew something they didn't. My parents had made a huge mistake. And the consequences were going to catch up to them sooner than they imagined. 1 month later, I was sitting in my office when someone said to me, "Your parents are in big trouble." I didn't panic. I didn't ask why. I didn't act shocked. I just looked up and said, "Okay, I know." Because I did know. I knew exactly what they had done behind my back. I knew exactly how far they had gone. And I knew that the trouble coming for them wasn't created by me. It was created by their own greed, entitlement, and decisions. This is where everything changes. This is where the story truly begins. And this is where the revenge they never saw coming finally starts to unfold. The day I was told my parents were in trouble, I didn't react. Not because I didn't care, but because by then, I had already pieced together what was happening behind the scenes. But to really understand how everything reached that point, you need to know what those 30 days looked like. Because my parents didn't just stop at trying to guilt trip me. They went much further. After my father slapped me, they stormed off my porch like I had committed some unforgivable sin. I stood inside my quiet house, my cheeks still burning, my heart pounding with disbelief. A part of me wanted to cry, a part of me wanted to scream, but the biggest part of me felt something new. Resolve. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the obedient daughter. I wasn't the peacekeeper. I wasn't the one sacrificing my comfort to keep everyone happy. I was the woman who owned her own house. And no one was going to take it from me. That night, I blocked their calls temporarily, not out of anger, but because I needed space to think. The next morning, the real war began. It started with my brother. Around 8 a.m., he texted, "I heard you made Mom cry. Why are you being so difficult? Just let them stay." I stared at my phone, jaw clenched. Made her cry? She stood next to my father while he slapped me and didn't say a word. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later. "Sophia, I have a bigger house. It just makes sense for them to be with you." Of course, I thought. He didn't want the responsibility. He wanted the house, not the parents who came with it. Again, I didn't respond. Then the relatives jumped in. "Aunt Lisa. They're old. Just let them have your spare room. Uncle Tom. Your brother has a family. You don't. Step up. Cousin Mark. Why do you even need all that space alone?" Every message made my stomach twist, not because their words hurt, but because it confirmed exactly what I already knew. To them, my independence was an inconvenience. 3 days later, my parents came back. I had just finished dinner when someone pounded on my door. I looked through the window, my parents both furious. I opened the door just enough to speak. "Why didn't you answer our calls?" my father demanded. "Because you hit me," I said. "And because you tried to take my home." My mother crossed her arms like a disappointed teacher. "We gave your brother a home. Now you give us yours. That's how families work." "No," I said calmly. "That's how transactions work. Families communicate. Families ask. They don't show up demanding keys." My dad stepped forward, trying to push the door, but I blocked it. "You're choosing a house over your parents?" he said.
No, irraplia.
"I'm choosing my safety over people who think they can slap me and claim what's mine." My father's face twisted with anger, but I didn't flinch. Eventually, they left. But this time, they didn't leave quietly. That's when everything changed. The next week was quiet, too quiet. No calls.
No texts. No visits.
It felt unnatural, like the calm before a storm. Then on Wednesday afternoon, I came home from work and noticed something strange. There were footprints near my side gate. Fresh ones. And the latch on my backyard door, normally closed, was open. My heart skipped. Had someone broken in? Had my parents trespassed? Had they tried to enter while I was gone? I walked through the house slowly, checking each room. Nothing was missing. Nothing was broken. But something felt off. Things were moved slightly. A photo frame shifted. A cabinet door left ajar that I knew I had closed. Someone had been here. I changed the locks the next morning. My parents found out fast. That same evening, I got a voicemail from my mother, her voice shaking with anger. "Sophia, how dare you lock us out? We need somewhere to live. You are being selfish and cruel. Lock them out?" It wasn't their home. But the message that followed chilled me even more. My father's voice. "You better open that house to us. Don't make this ugly. You don't want the consequences." Consequences. That one word told me everything. They weren't asking anymore. They were preparing to force something. And they did. A week later, the escalation arrived. I received a letter taped to my door. A ridiculous, handwritten paper claiming I was a disrespectful daughter and that I owed them support because they gave me life. They demanded I vacate the master bedroom so they could move in. It wasn't legal. It wasn't logical. It was pure entitlement. I saved the letter. Then the second one came, this time from a distant relative mediator, urging me to surrender the house, temporarily. I saved that one too, because I knew, with every action they took, they were burying themselves deeper. I just had to wait. And then, 30 days after the slap, the truth finally surfaced. I was at work when my boss walked by, holding a file with my parents' names on it. He looked at me with raised eyebrows and said, Sophia, your parents are in big trouble. I didn't blink. I didn't pretend to be surprised. I didn't panic. I just nodded and said, okay, I know, because at that point, I did know, and now you will too. When my boss said, your parents are in big trouble, he wasn't exaggerating. But before I explain what that meant, let me take you into the exact moment everything unraveled, because the fallout didn't come from me. It came from their own choices, their own actions, and their own arrogance. I followed my boss into his office, confused but steady. He closed the door gently and handed me a folder. My parents' names were printed across the top in bold letters. Sophia, he said carefully, you might want to sit for this. But I didn't. I just stood there with my arms crossed, ready. Ready because I had been expecting something like this. Ready because too many things hadn't added up. Ready because after the slap, the break-in signs, the letters taped to my door, I knew my parents were spiraling. What is this? I asked. He opened the folder slowly. Your parents applied for emergency senior housing and used your house as proof they were homeless and being abandoned by you. But the issue isn't the application.
He paused.
It's what they put on it. My stomach tightened. He continued, they claimed you locked them out of a home that belongs to them. They submitted letters, handwritten ones actually, claiming financial abuse. Financial abuse. The same letters they taped to my door. The same words they tried to weaponize against me. I exhaled slowly. Are you saying they filed a report against me? He nodded.
Yes.
And because they mentioned your address as the site of abuse, the agency forwarded the documents to local authorities. So that was the trouble. Not rumors. Not gossip. Not family drama. Legal trouble. What happens now? I asked calmly. You're okay, he said reassuringly. Their claims don't make sense. No judge will accept a story where parents give one child a $750,000 home and then accuse the other of financial abuse for not giving up hers. I felt a tired smile tug at my lips. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel crazy. He went on, they also listed your house as a place they intend to occupy by right, which triggered a potential property dispute. The county flagged it because it didn't match public records. Of course it didn't. My name, only my name, was on the deed. That's when everything clicked. My parents weren't just trying to pressure me emotionally. They weren't just trying to guilt trip me. They weren't just trying to force their way into my house. They were trying to legally claim rights to it. And to do that, they created a false narrative. They lied. On paper. To authorities. And that was the moment I realized. This wasn't about needing a place to live. This was about control. This was about entitlement. This was about taking something they believed they deserved simply because I owned it. My boss slid another document toward me. This part is where it gets serious, he said. I read the highlighted line. Applicant admits entering property through side entrance without resident's consent. My breath caught. They admitted it. They admitted going into my house. They admitted trespassing. They admitted exactly what I suspected the day I found things moved inside. Then, the next line. Applicant attempted to enter locked area. Claims daughter changed locks illegally. Illegally? It was my house. I had every right to change my own locks. My boss sighed. The county now is to investigate the trespassing claim. And since they admitted entry, the case will open automatically. So that was it. That's why they were in trouble. They filed false claims. They admitted trespassing. They submitted fake letters describing financial abuse. They tried to establish tenancy in a property that wasn't theirs. They tried to use the system to take my home. And the system? It pushed back. I leaned back in the chair, rubbed my temples, and let out a deep breath. A normal daughter might have cried. Some might have felt devastated. Some might have asked, why would my parents do this? But I wasn't shocked anymore. Just tired. Thank you for telling me, I said.
He nodded.
Sophia, you didn't deserve this. And you're going to be okay. The investigator assigned to the case is already asking questions. And she was. That night, she called me. Her voice was calm, professional, but direct. Miss Turner, I've reviewed the documents, she said. I need to confirm something. Your father claims the house belongs to the family.
It doesn't, I said.
I bought it alone. I have proof of every payment. And did you ever agree to let them move in?
No.
And did you change your locks after evidence of forced entry? Yes. She paused.
Good.
That matches the timeline. Then she asked, do you feel threatened by them? I hesitated, but only for a second. Yes. Because I did. The slap wasn't the scariest part. The letters weren't the scariest part. The trespassing wasn't the scariest part. The entitlement wasn't the scariest part. The scariest part was their belief that they had a right to my life. My home.
My peace.
The investigator said, thank you, Sophia. This information helps a lot. And I'll be honest, your parents have created a situation far bigger than they understand. That was the moment I realized. This wasn't going away quietly. This was going to explode. And for once, the consequences weren't falling on me. They were falling on the people who created the chaos. My parents. And the storm that hit them next? They never saw it coming. The investigator wasn't exaggerating when she said my parents had created a situation far bigger than they realized. What happened next was the moment everything crashed, loudly, publicly, and with consequences they never expected. It started with a home visit. Not to my home. To theirs. The investigator, a local officer, and a housing official showed up at my brother's newly gifted $750,000 house. My parents answered the door, shocked, confused, and already irritated, because in their minds, they were the victims. According to the investigator's later notes, the moment she stepped inside, she immediately noticed something strange. They weren't struggling. At all. Their new, desperate, and homeless story fell apart the second they opened the door. Brand new furniture. Designer appliances. A fully stocked pantry. They didn't look like two people in crisis. They looked like two people living comfortably in the luxury home they gave to my brother. The investigator asked them directly, why did you claim you were homeless when you live here? My mom answered, we're not staying here. We're just visiting our son. My dad added, we can't stay in a house that we gave to him. Our real home is our daughter's. The investigator blinked. Your daughter's home is legally hers, not yours. Why did you file paperwork stating otherwise? My father stiffened. Because she owes us. She refused to let us live with her. The officer cut in. That doesn't give you legal ownership. But my dad wasn't listening. He wasn't hearing anything. He was too focused on the idea that I owed him my house like a daughter paying a lifelong debt. My mother chimed in. Sophia is selfish. She wouldn't even give us a room. Not even one. Their entitlement was unbelievable. Their arrogance, unshakable. The investigator finally asked, did you not enter your daughter's house without permission? My parents froze. My mother looked at my father. My father looked at the floor. They didn't answer. But their silence was loud enough. The investigator wrote the answer down herself. After that, she asked for the letters. The ones they taped to my door. The ones accusing me falsely. The ones I had saved carefully. My parents handed over copies proudly, thinking those letters made them look righteous. Instead, the investigator later told me those letters were their downfall. The handwriting matched their emergency housing application. The accusations contradicted the county records. The claims of abandonment made zero sense considering the $750,000 gift they had just given my brother. And the biggest issue? They tried to claim tenancy in a house they had never lived in. Everything was unraveling fast. But the real explosion happened a few days later. It was a Friday evening when I got a call from the investigator. Her voice was sharper this time. More urgent. More serious. Sophia, there's been a development. My heart tightened. What happened? She sighed. Your parents attempted to file a secondary claim stating you physically threatened them. My mouth fell open.
What?
I never. She cut me off gently. I know. Their story contradicts itself again. They said the threat happened at your house at 10 a.m. that day. That's impossible, I said. I was at work until 6 p.m. We confirmed that, she replied. Your employer verified your hours immediately. I laughed, but not because it was funny. It was the kind of exhausted laugh you let out when you realize the people who raised you have absolutely no boundaries left. They're digging their own grave, she said softly. And she was right, because later that night, something happened that sent everything over the edge. My parents showed up at my house again. Not to apologize.
Not to talk.
Not to fix anything. They showed up to scream. I heard the pounding on my door from my bedroom.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
Sophia, open this door right now. My father's voice. Then my mother's, shrill and furious. You ruined everything. You think you can do this to us? I didn't answer. I didn't open the door. I didn't even move. After 5 minutes of nonstop banging, shouting, and threatening, my neighbor stepped outside. She yelled across the lawn. I'm calling the police. Leave that girl alone. My parents froze. Then they left. But the damage was done. The investigator called me the next morning. We received a police report from your neighbor. Your parents violated the no-contact recommendation. This escalates their case. I closed my eyes, both relieved and heartbroken. I didn't want this. I never wanted to destroy them. I never wanted revenge like this. All I wanted was peace. And my own home. And the safety that should have always been mine. The investigator continued. Given everything that's happened, the trespassing, the false claims, the harassment, it's likely the county will be issuing a protective order. I swallowed hard. A protective order. Against my own parents. And then she said the line that changed everything. Sophia, this isn't a family dispute anymore. It's now a legal matter. My blood ran cold. My parents thought they could manipulate the system. They thought they could guilt-trip their way into my home. They thought they could lie their way into control. Instead, they built a case against themselves. And the consequences? They were about to hit. Hard. The days after the protective order was issued were surreal. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't gloating. I was calm. I had feared confrontation for so long, feared my parents' anger, their disappointment, their authority. But now, nothing could shake me. The moment I had waited for, the moment they faced the consequences of their own actions, had arrived. It started with a letter from the county. My parents were formally restricted from entering my property. Trespassing, harassment, and false claims had put them squarely in legal trouble. The reality hit hard. The people who were supposed to protect me, guide me, and nurture me had lost control, and the law was on my side. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel vengeance. I felt relief. For years, I had been struggling to be taken seriously as an adult, a homeowner, a daughter with her own life. And now, finally, the world recognized what I had always known. My boundaries mattered. Even after the legal matters began, I didn't have to confront them directly. Their own pride and stubbornness did it for me. Friends and neighbors who had been witnesses to their behavior confirmed my version of events. Every false claim they had made, every lie they had told, every attempt to control me, it collapsed under scrutiny. And then came the hardest but most satisfying part, telling my brother. He had been caught in the middle from day one. He loved our parents, yes, but he also valued fairness. I explained everything to him calmly, showing him the documents, the letters, the evidence of trespassing. He was stunned, speechless. I had no idea it got this bad, he admitted finally. I just thought, maybe you were overreacting. I shook my head. I didn't want this, Michael. I didn't want to fight them. But I also can't just let them take my life because they think they're entitled. After that conversation, he finally understood. He didn't argue, didn't take sides. He just listened. And in that moment, I felt a sense of family peace I had never known before. A real peace. Weeks passed. The protective order stayed in place. My parents called once, left a message filled with anger and frustration. I didn't respond. I knew any engagement would only escalate things. I had learned the hard way that calm, patience, and knowing my own rights were far stronger than shouting, pleading, or crying. The day they finally stopped calling, stopped trying, stopped interfering, it felt like I had finally reclaimed my home, my life, my power. My house, which they once thought they could take, had become my fortress, not of bricks and walls, but of boundaries, self-respect, and independence. Looking back, the slap on my face, the entitlement, the endless pressure, they were all part of a story that needed to unfold exactly as it did. Because that pain, that injustice, became the turning point. Without it, I might have continued to tolerate behavior that was unacceptable. Without it, I might have questioned my own worth. But standing there in my living room one quiet evening, I realized something. The best revenge isn't shouting. It's not getting even. The best revenge is living your life, fully, boldly, and without letting anyone take what is rightfully yours. And that's exactly what I did. My parents? They faced their consequences. They were forced to confront their actions legally and emotionally. They couldn't manipulate, threaten, or intimidate me anymore. And in the end, they had only themselves to blame for the chaos they had created.
Me?
I regained my home. I regained my peace. I regained my confidence. I had survived the most shocking betrayal a family could offer, and I came out stronger, wiser, and unshakable. So, if you ever feel powerless when someone you love tries to take advantage of you, remember this. Justice doesn't always come immediately, but patience, calm, and standing your ground can make the most powerful statement of all. My parents gave my brother a $750,000 home. They tried to take mine. They failed. And the moment I calmly said, "Okay, I know," the moment I trusted myself and the law, I won. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with dignity. And that is the story of how I turned a slap, a threat, and betrayal into the ultimate lesson. Your life, your home, and your boundaries are yours, and no one, not even your parents, can take them if you refuse to let them. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed Sophia's story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Revenge Files for more shocking true revenge stories every week. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that will leave you speechless.